They thought he was wasting fuel. He was charging his house like a battery. When winter arrived, everyone reached for the same solution. Burn more wood. Stay awake longer. Hope Spring came early. One cabin stayed warm without the constant fight. Not because the fire was stronger, because the walls remembered heat. Think about this before we go on when conditions turn hostile. Do you react continuously, or do you prepare once and let it carry you through, stay until the end? Because this isn't about cabins or firewood. It's about how the smartest survival choices often look wrong until winter proves them right. The cabin that made no sense. Jacob built 2 log walls instead of 1, and from the beginning, it felt wrong to everyone watching. The walls stood 18 inches apart, an empty gap that looked like a mistake waiting to be corrected. Then he started filling that gap with stone, not loose rock scooped from the riverbank, not rubble or scraps. He hauled heavy granite and sandstone one piece at a time, choosing stones that fit together tightly, stacking them from the foundation all the way up to the roof beam. Each stone was placed deliberately, locked into position like part of a puzzle. Progress was slow, painfully slow. Neighbors stopped to watch, shaking their heads. "Stone doesn't burn," they said. "Stone makes things colder. Stone belongs in fireplaces, not walls." Experienced builders warned him that moisture would rot the logs trapped against the stone. Others said the added weight would crack the foundation before the snow even fell. Some laughed openly. Others tried to help him reconsider, telling him winter would arrive before he finished and regret would arrive even faster. Jacob didn't argue. He didn't explain. He didn't defend the design. He kept stacking stone, hands cracked, back sore, trusting something he couldn't yet prove. What everyone else missed. Most cabins followed the same simple logic because it had always been enough. Fire heats air. Air warms the room. When the fire dies, the heat disappears with it. Logs slow that loss, but they don't stop it. They act like a pause button, not a solution. Jacob understood something different, something most builders never thought about because it wasn't obvious. Stone absorbs heat slowly, reluctantly even. But once it warms, it does not give that heat back easily. It releases it gradually, evenly, over hours instead of minutes. His walls weren't meant to block cold alone. They were designed to store warmth. The inner log wall trapped heat inside the living space. The stone layer absorbed that warmth like a sponge soaking up water. The outer log wall slowed the stone's heat loss to the outside world. The result wasn't insulation in the traditional sense. It was thermal mass, a battery built into the walls themselves. No moving parts, no tricks, just physics applied patiently. While others chased heat with constant flames, Jacob planned to hold it, save it, and release it slowly when the fire went quiet. But the long burn. When winter arrived, Jacob did exactly what everyone expected him to do. He burned wood constantly. For days, thick smoke rose from his chimney. Neighbors counted the stacks shrinking and laughed harder. "He'll be out of fuel by Christmas," they said. But Jacob wasn't wasting wood. He was investing it. Every fire burned hotter and longer than comfort required. He slept lightly, woke often, fed the stove again and again, letting heat saturate the stone walls inch by inch. The cabin itself was being warmed, not just the air inside it. By the time the deepest cold arrived, The stone core of the walls was warm from floor to ceiling. Then Jacob did something that looked insane. He let the fire go out. No flames, no embers, just silence. And the cabin stayed warm. Not briefly, not barely. Hour after hour, the stored heat flowed back into the room, steady and calm, as if the walls themselves were breathing warmth into the space. When winter proved the point, by late December, winter turned cruel. Cabins across the settlement struggled to stay above freezing, even with fires roaring day and night. Families slept in coats. Children woke crying with numb hands and feet. Ice formed on the inside of windows. Floors froze solid by morning. Firewood vanished at a terrifying speed, stacks shrinking faster than they could be replaced. Some families began dismantling fences and furniture just to burn something. Jacob's cabin told a different story. Hours after the fire died, the interior was still warm, not just survivable, comfortable. While neighbors fought to hold 38 degrees, his cabin stayed above 60. Morning came. He relit the fire briefly, recharged the walls, and let it fade again. He burned roughly half the wood everyone else did. The difference wasn't effort, it was design. Winter wasn't being fought inside Jacob's cabin, it was being managed. The knock at the door one morning before sunrise. A neighbor arrived, pulling his coat tight against the cold, his breath fogging the air with every step. He hesitated before knocking, embarrassed by the need that brought him there. When Jacob opened the door, warmth spilled out like something alive. The man stepped inside and stopped short, not from temperature, from disbelief. There was no fire, no glowing stove, no trick hidden in the corners. Yet the air was warm, steady, calm. The stone walls were still warm to the touch, radiating heat quietly into the room, as if the cabin itself were breathing. The neighbor ran his hands along the logs, then the stone, then simply stood there, silent. By New Year's, word spread quickly. Men came with measuring sticks, with thermometers, with skepticism sharpened by desperation. They checked corners, pressed hands to walls, waited for the warmth to fade. It didn't. They left without jokes, without laughter. The numbers didn't lie. Winter had tested the cabin, and it had passed. From mockery to adoption, that winter rewrote the settlement's understanding of shelter in a way no meeting or argument ever could. Builders who once mocked Jacob now approached him quietly, often alone, asking careful, practical questions. How wide should the gap be to hold heat without crushing the logs? How thick the stone layer needed to run before it stopped making a difference? Which rocks worked best, and which ones cracked under repeated heating? Jacob answered without pride or judgment, because the proof no longer belonged to him. By summer, new cabins rose with stone-filled walls across the settlement. Some were crude, some were overbuilt, but all were warmer. By the next winter, fewer families froze. Fewer fires burned through the night. Fuel lasted longer. Children slept warmer and woke without frost on their blankets. What was once called foolish became known as smart, then necessary. Not because Jacob convinced anyone with words, but because winter judged the design honestly. And winter always tells the truth. They laughed at his walls because they didn't understand them. They believed warmth came from fire alone. Jacob understood it came from memory. Stone remembers heat. Wood forgets it. When winter arrived, that difference mattered more than tradition, experience, or pride. This wasn't a battle of strength. It was a test of thinking ahead. The people who survived best weren't the ones who worked harder every night. They were the ones who made fewer mistakes before winter ever began. Now I want to hear from you. Which part of this story changed how you think about preparation? Was it the walls, the patience, or the willingness to look wrong for a season? Leave a comment with what stood out to you most. And if stories like this make you rethink survival, planning, and long-term thinking, subscribe. Because winter always returns, and the smartest lessons are learned before it does.